That's the way I feel. You know, it's just an incredible opportunity to be able to share the stage with Bert, Omar, Les Brown's going to be here later. I mean, I just can't tell you how excited I am. Some of you see me holding these balls as I'm walking around here, these stress balls, and it's because I have a little bit of ADD. I kind of lose my focus sometimes. So when I do, I want to ask you, Gene, you just like throw this ball at me. I appreciate that. I'm serious. I'm really serious.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. As Bert said, I've been buying and selling real estate in South Florida for more than 19 years. And, you know, one of the things that resonates with me when I come up here and I listen to these guys speak is, you know, it's nothing like hearing something over and over again and just, you know, having it soak in and know that you have to do something over and over again to be successful at it, right? And there's nothing like leading by example. So I'm not coming up here and telling you guys that I've bought a property, I flipped it, I made $20,000 and you can do it with no money down. And I haven't done it. I've done it. Okay, I'm a living testimony that you can make money and you can do it too. So today, I'm going to give you guys a few examples of some deals that I've done. Can I get the clicker? Here we go. I started out in this business, and this particular slide really hits home for me. You know, I say, don't get thrown to the sharks. That's essentially what happened to me when I got started in this business 19 years ago. You know, I used to come home from college over the summer, and I'd ask my father, I said, Dad, I need some work. I need to make some money over the summer. And he'd say, Mike, okay, go clean out the house over there on, in Fort Lauderdale on 33rd Street. I said, okay, but I want to make some real money, Dad. So I spent summers, you know, cleaning houses out. You know, at best, I would get a paint job. So I said, Dad, I want to make the real money. He said, you want to make the real money? Take this daily business review. Here's a list of all the foreclosed, all the sale dates coming up here in the next 2 weeks. Now go make a deal. I said, Dad, well, what am I looking at? So he said, well, here's the judgment amount. Here's the assessed value. Go find out what the market value is, and let's see if we can make a deal on it. So I got my start, and I literally went and knocked on doors, and I probably lost over $1 million. I lost $1 million, be it overpaying for properties, underestimating construction costs. So I think it's important, and I look at these guys, what I was going to say earlier is I look at guys like Omar and Bert, and they say that, you know, these are guys that are you know, world-renowned speakers, but they have coaches, they have mentors, they have guys that they call and say, hey, I need a hand. What do I do in this situation? So I think it's important that somebody has that. So, you know, some of the questions you may ask yourself, you know, getting started, how do I find a profitable property? How do I structure a profitable deal? How do I best sell the property? How do I close it? One of the pieces to the puzzle that I think is, and Gene had mentioned it, is building a buyer's list, having somebody in your right hand that you know is ready to go. It's ready to buy that piece of property. So it just makes it so much easier. If I'm doing a puzzle with my son, you know, my 3-year-old, and you got that last piece, and you say, well, the puzzle just doesn't look the same until you have that last piece, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you have that last piece of the puzzle, it makes it so much easier to just look at it and enjoy what you created. So I have, you know, ready, willing, and able buyers, and it makes your life easier, knowing your clients, know what they want. So if I know, I'm going to get to my next slide. I'm going to talk about one of the deals I've done. Looking at the big picture, seeing the big picture. So now I've created a buyer's list. So now I have a buyer. I have a particular buyer. Let's say we're going to call this guy Joe Petrie, because actually bought this piece of property here in Delray Beach. Joe had called me. I had met him at a networking event, and he called me and said, Mike, you know, I'm looking for a potential drug treatment facility. So I need anywhere from 5 to 15 units. What do you got for me? And I said, I don't have anything, but I'm going to go find you something. So I almost willed it to happen. I invested $500 negotiating this deal. I contracted it for $500,000. I sold it for $685. I made $185,000 on a $500 profit. And that's documented. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's documented. This is, you know, anything you want to prove it, I've done it. How did I do it? You know, like I said, I had the buyer. I had Joe Petrie who was ready to go. I knew that I had him. So all I had to do was find the product for him. Okay? And you can relate this to anything in your business, essentially. So I went out and he said he wanted Delray Beach. So what I did is I roped off an area from I-95 to Federal Highway, from Linton, Atlantic Avenue to Linton Boulevard. And I drove the area, and I was persistent. I drove the area for weeks. I came across a distressed property. How did I know it was distressed? The grass was overgrown, windows were broke, looked like it hadn't been painted in 15 years. So I saw an opportunity in that. I reached out to the owner via Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. I get in, I go to the computer. I sent the guy a letter, no response. I sent him another letter, no response. I sent him a third letter and still no response. I sent this guy 5 letters. Finally, the 5th letter I sent him, he said, I'm getting tired of your letters, but what do you want from me? I said, well, I want to buy your property. I see that it needs work. He goes, well, I live in Michigan, and I don't manage it, so maybe I could sell you the property. I said, oh, fantastic. Wound up negotiating the deal with him, tied the property up, got it under contract, and then had my buyer on hand waiting. Joe Petro sitting there waiting for me, connected the two, and made my fee. So it's tools to add to your career toolbox. That's what this seminar is about, champion mindset. What are we going to add in our toolbox for 2015? One of the things that we have to keep focused on is persistence, okay? Firm or obstinate, continuous in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. If I didn't send that 5th letter or the tons of letters that I sent them, I don't get a phone call. And Gene and I had talked about persistence. Gene is a very persistent. Gene's still here? Did he leave? He was over there. So Gene called me and I said, Gene, you know that property you sold me at 544 19th Street in West Palm? I said, yeah. I said, well, he had called me probably 5 or 6 times on that and said, Mike, you got to go see this property. You have to go see it. Well, Gene, I'm not interested. I'm too busy. I can't go look at it. So he called me, whatever, the 5th or 6th time. He says, Mike, you have to go see this property. You can make a deal. And I said, all right, Gene, I'll go see it. Sold me the property for $85,000. I had a buyer's list already. Don't ask me why I didn't go to it. This is something you learn every day. But I wound up selling the property for $180,000, less than a month and a half after Gene sold it to me for $90,000. So persistence pays off in every aspect. And the small stuff counts. I know Bert has said it several times, the small stuff counts. How long did it take me to find the property, the owner's mailing address, and to write a 2-line letter? Okay, so I sent them tons of letters, but essentially, it took me 15 minutes, probably 15, 20 minutes to write 2 letters. So the small stuff counts. Babe Ruth said it best, yesterday's home runs don't win today's games, and I truly believe that. Whatever I did to hit that home run, and sometimes I forget, I have to remind myself. That's why I love listening to these guys every day. I listen to Les Brown. I pull up Bert's YouTube videos, and I watch them every day because I have to remind myself, what did I do to hit that home run? Well, I wrote letters. I combed an area. I drove around. I took addresses down of vacant properties. I did my research. So I truly believe that. Another property I did in 2011, I invested $2,500. I went to contract for $147 and sold it for $195. I didn't close on the property. This is literally with $2,500 out of my pocket. I was able to flip this property and make $47,000 just by connecting a seller and a buyer. So this is real, and I can show you guys how I did that. I located 5 duplexes in Riviera Beach. Actually, I saw this property on a buyer's list probably for 3 months, and nobody could sell it. It just so happened, maybe there was a little element of luck involved here, but I had reached out to an investor that I had networked with and was looking for properties in low-income areas, so step out of the box. This guy went outside the box and said, Mike, I want low-income properties. I want distressed properties, stuff that is really in if you look at Riviera Beach, just Google it, you'll see 9 square miles of crime. That's all that Riviera Beach has to offer. Am I right? It's true. I've done a lot of properties. It actually works out. But, so I said, well, after I knew that Roman wanted to buy some property in the low-income areas, I relocated this property, found out who the realtor was, and I called the realtor. I said, is this property still available? She said, yes, and we're listing it for $141. I said, well, I'll give you $6,000 more, and you could keep both sides of the commission. I want this deal today, because I already knew that I had that piece of the puzzle that was ready to go. I had him lined up. Cash in an escrow account, ready to close. So That's the importance of it. Thinking outside the box, as I said, hundreds of people opened the email and never saw potential in it, right? They didn't see potential in buying units at 20,000, fixing them up, and maybe reselling them to a passive investor. So I think that's important. I met the buyer whose needs were met. Simple. Know my client base. It's important. It's important. Sheree, we talk all the time, right? Adrian calls me all the time. Mike, I got a deal for you. I got a cash property for you. He knows what I want. It's important that you guys know what I want so you don't waste your client's time. I knew Joe was looking for a drug treatment facility. I knew Roman was looking for low-income property in the hood, literally. So know what your client wants, and so you put the pieces together simply. Explore a territory outside the box. This is a funny story. I don't know if I should be saying this, but this property here was next door to the one that I sold Ronan. It wasn't listed. I had looked it up. I emailed a local realtor that I had been working with. I'm not licensed, so I use brokers. I located Adam Narky and said, Adam, find out about this property for me. Anyway, he did research on it, found out who the listing agent was. Hadn't been listed yet. The day that sign went on that property, well, I already knew that I had Ronan owns next door, right? Ronan has 5 duplexes next door on 1.5 acres. This is another 2 duplexes on 1.5 acres. The property goes all the way back to the train tracks here on Avenue J. So I see the sign go up, and I'm next door walking the property with Ronan, and I say, wow, these guys just put a sign up. So I go and I cut the sign down and put it in my trunk so I can get in the middle of the money. I'm only going to cut the sign down, but I want to contract the property and selling it to Ronan. You remember this, I told you about this, Sherry. So just thinking outside the box, what do we do for our next deal? Use networking context. I mean, that's why we're here. We're networking. We're finding out what everybody does, how we can fit together, and possibly do some business. Think big. Lake Worth. This happened this year. In 2014, I contracted a property for $250,000 with a $1,000 deposit. I flipped it for $495. It's an 8-unit property. It's huge. So I had sold this property to an overseas group of developers who were looking to develop property in the Lake Worth area. So they're really not in touch. I had just a good client base. I had went to I wound up getting these properties contracted and wound up flipping those properties to the same investors. I actually had knocked on the door, sent a letter again, and after months of trying to get this property and renegotiating, because these properties had been listed but got off the market because nobody wanted them. But I come in and re-talk to the listing agent and just do my thing, and while I'm getting those under contract. Now the group of investors owns all this property up to 6th Avenue North to 7th Avenue North. They own over 2 acres of property that I sold them. So again, have a clear vision of supply and demand. Okay, and in particular market that you're in. I always took one market and concentrated and focused my attention on that particular market, which helps. In Riviera Beach, I've done 50 houses. I've taken 50 houses I've proposed buying at 20, 30, 40,000, selling for 80, 90, 100. So I kind of created that market in Riviera Beach for houses that are selling now for how much? Around 70. Investment properties for 70. Investment for 70. I was buying them at 20 and 30,000. Now they're selling for 70, 80,000, needing 15, 20,000 in work, right? So the market's increasing. We created a market over there for years. I bought a bunch from Adrian too. So we talk about the little things that make a big difference. Work with a trusted expert. This is why I'm here, because I want to work with Bert and Omar and Les Brown. I want to work with these guys. I want to surround myself with somebody who's better than me at a particular field. So I look at this diamond. I thought of this example last night. You take a diamond, and I look at that and it looks beautiful. It looks like it's shining. It looks like I can wear that, and I really think it's a real diamond, right? It's fantastic. How much does it cost? What kind of quality is it? I have no idea. But I'll pay $30,000 for it because I think it looks good, right? I think it looks fantastic. Here's 30 grand for it. But my cousin in New Jersey is a jeweler, and when I go up to New Jersey to go skiing in New York, he tells me, Mike, look at this diamond you bought. It's worth $3,000. Okay? So what do? I didn't work with a trusted expert. I made a mistake. As I said in the beginning, I've made a lot of mistakes. It cost me, millions of dollars in construction, and underestimating construction costs, maybe thinking I can sell the property for 200 when I can only sell it for 180. So there's a lot of key components in this. So that's very important. That's my spin. That's my speech. And if you guys have any questions, we have to answer anyone. I have a group of